and welcome to our second Huddy Hui this week. This is episode 67, and our guest tonight, well, is a promising young halfback that's coming through the ranks of the Hurricanes, and the last 3 seasons he's been playing his trade for the Counties Manukau and the Bunnings NPC. Cam Roigard is our guest on the Hui tonight. Cam, many thanks for coming on the Huddy Hui. Let's talk about last weekend, a tough loss to North Harbour on Sunday. What is the team identified as the work-ons from that game? And tell us about that pass.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. Last week, a bit disappointing, obviously. Definitely didn't play how we wanted to play, but sort of lapse in concentration or mentally switched off a bit in those last 10 minutes of both halves, actually. So that's probably what we addressed as our focus, trying to stay in it for the full 80 or each part, break it up into parts so we stay on for the whole game, really. It's still been a good year so far. Good bunch of lads. Culture's real strong, and really enjoying my year so far. So,
of course, 2 wins this season over Bay of Plenty and Otago, especially Bay of Plenty, who have been going pretty well. What were the keys to those wins? And tell us about the Steelers' environment, because it seems to be humming this season.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, like the culture is real tight. So we're sort of breaking, like with the new coaching staff and new players and all that sort of stuff. So it's sort of we put a lot of time into our culture and connections as a group, and that really showed in that first game. I reckon, like with our trying to put in that whole full 80 performance. I think over previous years we talked about how other teams would think of us, and it was a bit about how they think that we'd drop off after 60 or like not be in it for the full 80. So we sort of prided ourselves on that. And so that Otago game, we had to go the full 80, almost 82 to that drop goal. And then with the Bay of Plenty game, pretty much same idea, but we just knew it was going to be a bit of a dogfight. And our defence sort of showed that sort of got us the win with that one. Just, that, and then Riley kicking those penalties. So, yeah.
And another game of which you had a late charge against was in the Renfrew Shield match against Hawke's Bay. You were trailing at half-time by quite a margin. If it wasn't for the first half, would you think you would have won the Shield?
Yeah, well, we still, during that week, we talked a lot about belief, but we definitely wanted to have a good crack at them. And then obviously we didn't start how we wanted to. So we sort of just basically said at half-time, like, let's just go at them and have a crack because we've got nothing to lose at this point. We're not where we wanted to be and we didn't play the half we wanted to. So may as well have a good crack and leave it all out there. And we did. We were so close, but bit of Etz's magic as well, which helped us. But, yeah, definitely disappointing first half. But, still, like, proud of what we talked about, like that full 80 and all that sort of stuff, and trying to change the mould of how we want to play. And it's sort of starting to show, so no, it's good.
You made your debut for Counties Manukau in 2020, so tell us about your debut. Who was it against? And also, what was it like playing alongside a former All Black captain?
Yeah, so it was against Northland, wet day at Pukekura at home. Yeah, and it was, I think we did lose, but it was with Rito. It was bloody tough conditions, wet game, but it was pretty awesome actually. Pretty surreal at that time, sort of coming in, playing along someone like himself, but then also him being there, the way he communicated with the boys, he sort of gave you the confidence to actually just back yourself, which was really good being a young fella. But he was a huge part of that year. Although he probably didn't want to be as involved as he was in terms of leadership and that, he just sort of fitted straight in, and it was actually awesome to learn off for that first year.
Tell us about Pukekura, the home ground there, and tell us about the atmosphere.
Yeah, it's a bit different to any other stadium I sort of played at, because obviously it's a bit old school, like with the clock that's just the hand. So I'm still trying to work out how it works now, to be honest. Looking at it, it's like, how long's left? I still don't know. But it's pretty cool actually, and especially this year, Rion, our coach, has put a lot of emphasis on putting pride back in the pride in the hoops, we say, but trying to get that community, that feel back in the Steelers, and it's really shown this year. Had some awesome crowds already, and hopefully to get a good crowd on Saturday. So it's a cool stadium to play at.
Of course, how did your move to the Hurricanes come about?
Yeah, so that was after that Steelers season, that first year. Unfortunately for Boothie, he had a pretty serious injury, leg injury, and injury replacement spot popped up at the Canes. So they sort of just asked if I wanted to come down to train with them. They thought that he would be back around March, so a couple months into that season, and then just see whatever happens. But he ended up having to get another surgery, so he ended up hanging around. So I ended up having to hang around the whole year, and then unluckily for JT, the other county's halfback, he tweaked his ankle or strained his ankle or something. So then I got my opportunity to play a few games, and then after that, managed to get a contract for the year just been. So yeah.
So tell us about the Hurricanes environment. What's it like?
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed it. Real good connection between the whole way through between the management and players. No cliques as such. So everyone gets along with everyone. Real welcoming with the leaders making an effort to get to know the young fellas. That's the first thing I noticed coming into an environment where I didn't really know anyone apart from JT at the time, because he was the only other counties mate. But yeah, awesome bunch of lads. Love it there, right?
And your debut for the Hurricanes was last year in 2021, and probably one of the hardest games to actually make your debut. You had to go up against the Crusaders, and the match went into extra time. So tell us about what you were feeling like going against the Crusaders.
Yeah, so like I just mentioned, JT actually. So I wasn't meant to play that week, wasn't named, and JT rolled his ankle on Friday, so it was a Sunday game. So the last big training before the game. So I hadn't actually done any training during the week. So I sort of had to have a sit down with the coaches and that to make sure I'm all over everything. And then Sunday afternoon, great, beautiful day, probably the biggest crowd we'd had that year, that season. And big occasion, but I suppose you just soak all up. Don't have much time to overthink it, so you just get out there and play. And then, didn't expect to get on because it was so tight. But, coaches put the trust in me, which is pretty cool. And then extra time, probably the one thing I didn't want to happen, got charged down, and then that ended up resulting in them getting the drop goal to win. So that was pretty gut-wrenching at the time, just feeling like you let them all down. But like I said, they were real supportive and got behind me in that, so it was pretty cool. And I was lucky enough to get a few more opportunities after that game, so it wasn't the be-all and end-all, but yeah, it's definitely a big occasion. Well, cool occasion looking back on it now. No regrets or anything, but yeah, at the time it was pretty surreal.
Of course, you've roughly played about 8 games or so or more for the Hurricanes. How long have you been contracted for?
Yeah, so I've been contracted so last year was my first year, and I've been contracted for 2 years. So yeah, I've played I played 7 that first year, and then 6 the year just been. So yeah.
Of course, it must be great learning your trade as a halfback alongside All Black TJ Perinara. What have you learnt from him that you've added to your game?
Yeah, just the way a lot of off-field stuff. So how he prepares mentally. That's been a bit of an eye-opener. So it's not all just rugby related. It is important to do other things to find that balance. But then he is a bit of a wizard in that respect, and his so not his preparation, but the tactical side of it. So looking at other teams' footage and preparation, and sort of identifying what he can pick out of the opposition to benefit us. Yeah, so he's definitely almost like a player coach kind of role in that respect, as he's always putting, always team first, but he's always just doing lots of behind the scenes stuff to give us the best shot of going out there to get a win.
Sorry.
Sorry. And also, and also, obviously, him being a left foot, so that stuff in terms of kicking and that sort of stuff, it makes it pretty easy for me, because I'm sort of, I can just copy him and Wes in that sort of respect. Yeah.
So where did your rugby career begin? Where did it all start for you, Cam?
Yeah, so I grew up in Kirapero, which is just out of Cambridge, in the Waikato. So played primary school and all that sort of stuff when I was about 4, and then went to St. Peter's in Cambridge. So that was from year 7, so 11 or 12, all the way up to first 15, same school. So I was in the first 15 from year 11 to year 13. And then from there, got the opportunity to come to Counties to join their academy. And after a year of being in the academy, played under 19s, and then the following, and then in the groove for the 20s, but COVID sort of put a halt on that. And then from there, made the Steelers that same year. So
St. Peter's, Cambridge, an up-and-coming sort of rugby school. Tell us about the rugby program there at St. Peter's.
Yeah, so when I was there, just got to put a bit more of a focus in our sport and rugby and that, which was awesome. They just launched a rugby academy when I was might have been my last couple of years. So that's for like the junior rugby boys, sort of make it almost part of their school day. So they have like their maths, English, and then there's a little block in there for their rugby as such, which is cool for the development and sort of creates that pathway for them to develop their skills before they get to the first 15, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, co-ed school. So there was when I was there, we were in the that CNI competition, which was good, tough competition. Never managed to win that. And then the co-ed top 4 nationals, which was the other competition, knockout competition. So I managed to get 3rd when I was my first year, and then we won it back to back in year 12 and 13. So in terms of co-ed schools, we compete pretty well. Yeah.
Of course, the CNI, the Central North Island competition, it's been going for roughly just over a decade now, but it involves a hell of a lot of travel. What were your experiences of that tournament, and how tough is it really?
Yeah, no, it was actually pretty fun, eh? Like, sort of gives you, like, looking back now, it's sort of a taste of what professional rugby is kind of like, traveling the day before or night before, and it was pretty cool before COVID and that. You could you get billeted out to families at certain schools and that, which was cool. If not, you're in the boarding houses or whatnot. But it was it's pretty cool to. This is probably your first taste to meet, like, connecting with other rugby people that weren't just at your school, which was, it was, looking back again, like, you sort of probably don't realise how cool and how lucky you are to be playing that type of rugby. But like I said, it's pretty tough, like, because you are travelling all the way, like, obviously no flights or anything like that, but we play Rathkill, which is down in Masterton, so it's a bit of a hike for us, and then stretch as far as Masterton to Wesley, which is up in Auckland, so not far for us, but you travel all the way around the North Island. But you definitely a tough competition. You sort of never know who's going to beat who, and always upsets because of that travel barrier and that. Yeah.
Of course, how many games did you play for the first 15, and who are St. Peter's greatest rugby rivals?
I think it was 56. So I was lucky enough so I was in that year 11, and managed to, lucky, like I said, to not get injured or anything like that. So I just about played every game for my year 12 and 13 as well. So, And what was the second question, sorry?
Who's your greatest rival?
Peter's? Yeah, so it sort of changed a little bit. So it used to be Cambridge High.
Yeah.
So that was sort of the team you always loved coming up against, because I went, you know a lot of them being in Cambridge. So you always want to, it's a good game to be a part of. Bit of a grudge match. But then sort of my last couple of years, it was St. Paul's. Just we always seem to get TV games against them, because I think they probably realised that it was our bit of a rivalry there, and they're a very good school as well in terms of the rugby and that. So it was always them.
Who do you model your game on, and who is your favourite rugby player?
Who do I model my game off? So, as cliche as it probably will sound, probably TJ.
Yeah.
So like I said, left foot. He's probably one of the bigger nines. So when I was growing up, and I realised I probably had a bit of size to me compared to the other nines, sort of hard not to look at TJ and think, could like want to be like him kind of thing. But then like at the same time, you're always looking at the other nines and trying to pick apart each little bits, their strengths, and try and mould it into your game as well. Then favourite rugby player growing up, I love the left foot, but had to be DC just because he's the GOAT. Like, hard to look past someone like that. He's just class. But left footers, man.
Left footers. So, battle of the halfbacks. Who is the best in the world in your opinion?
Right now,
yep.
Probably have to be DuPont, I reckon. Yeah, he's class. He's got that razzle too. Just outside of that core role, he can do anything. I reckon you can put him anywhere, and he just carves up a.
Yeah.
And
of course, outside of footy, you're known for being pretty good at something else, and that is Speedway. Now, I don't have a lot of knowledge of Speedway, but tell us about Speedway, the thrill, the action of it, and what does it involve?
Yeah, Speedway is basically dirt racing. I'll give you an example. So basically at Palmy, the stadium where the turbos play, it's the clay on the outside. So race places like that. And it's basically, I grew up racing mini stocks, which are Datsun 1200 motors, purpose built chassis. So it's, and then, you got multiple classes, but then you got super stocks, which I started racing up until I got my Hurricanes contract, actually, which are, again, purpose built V8s that are full contact.
Yeah.
So you got the crash and bash and the thrill of the actual speed as well. So it's a bit of an adrenaline rush. I'd probably compare it to, it's probably the motorsport version of rugby, I reckon, just because of the brutality as such. And you got your technical, tactical, but it's, she's all go.
She's all go. Oh, fantastic. Yeah. And your future ambitions in the game of rugby, how far do you want to go?
Yeah, well, how far do I want to go? I just want to put my best foot forward, sort of take it 1 year at a time. But I just want to, obviously, like the end goal or the big term goal is to be an All Black. But at the same time, I just want to enjoy my footy. At the moment, when you enjoy your footy, you probably find you play your best footy as well. So at the moment, I'm really enjoying it. And just take it one step at a time or one game at a time and just keep going, having fun. Yeah.
And this Saturday, you have Manawatu at home, and you're going up against two, pretty competitive halfbacks. They've both been Hurricanes within the last 2 years, Luke Campbell and Logan Henry. What areas of their game do you have to watch out for when you play against them on this weekend? Yeah,
I reckon they both got hissing box kicks as well. So they always, I remember we played Logan. I didn't actually know him at the time. This was our first game last year before COVID. But he put on a bit of a clinic against us. But again, they're great athletes, great guys as well. So it's pretty cool going against people that you know. But also their running game is pretty sharp as well. So they always come out of nowhere, catch you off guard. So, yeah.
Manawatu yet to win a game, but they've come close on a number of occasions. They've got some real attacking weapons. Where you as Counties Manukau got to watch out for some of their key players? Because I hear they've got a decent first five as well.
Yeah, fairly decent. Yeah, might be coming down to Wellington next year too.
That's right.
So obviously, Brett's a bit of a threat, but Drew Wild, he's a bit of a gun at the back. He's been playing really well as well. And then on the flip side of us, trying to stay in it for not drop off in the last 10, they seem to stay in it for the full 80.
Yeah.
You know, regardless of what's been happening or the scores, and don't reflect how well they play at times. So yeah, we definitely have to keep on our toes for that. And, yeah, that's pretty much what we're talking about. I lost you. Hello.
Internet error there.
Oh, hello.
I think we're just losing Cam there for a bit.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
The internet might have just gone down. Yeah.
Hello. No good.
Oh, g'day, Cam.
I'm back.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. So we're still live. So we just missed your question about Manawatu. So just continue there.
Oh, sorry. You missed the whole thing?
Yeah, we missed the whole thing. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Second shot at it. No, we just talked about how on the flip side of us wanting to play for the full 80 and not drop off in the last 10, we know that they play for the full 80 regardless of how they've been going in the previous games or the score line and stuff like that. And they got some pretty razzly players like Brett Cameron, as you mentioned, and Drew Wild, who's been going really well at the back as well. So making sure we're kicking smart and not giving him too much time or space. So, yeah.
Well, Cam, it's been fantastic having you on the Hui this evening. All the best this weekend and for Counties' rest of their season.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on. It's been good.
All right. Cheers, Cam. Cam Roigard, a promising young player coming through the Hurricanes and also of Counties Manukau as well. So joy to have him on the Hui tonight. Well, next weekend, Silverstream's finally finished their season. We might get a few of the Silverstream first 15 players on next season to wrap up their season. Just narrowly missing out on the top four. It's also the top four this weekend as well. Of course, Hamilton boys taking on John McGlashan, and Westlake boys taking on Napier boys. So those will be big matches indeed. So that's the Huddy Hui this weekend.